Hello and welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV, our flagship stations on Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99. You can also find us in the Birmingham Bloomfield area on those same channels on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. You can also find us in Waterford each and every day live on Channel 10 on the media network of Waterford, as well as on Orion Neighborhood Television or ONTV, live to tape each and every day for the Megacast on demand in the afternoons and live to tape in the afternoons over there. Find us on the radio, of course, 89.3 Lakes FM and lakesfm.com, our flagship radio stations, but also in the Birmingham area, the Bloomfield Hills, Bloomfield Township area, and the Troy areas on the Biff Radio Network, 88.1 WBFH, the Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. All that information on our website, civiccentertv.com. Just click on our Megacast link, and there we have links to each and every one of our partnering stations that join us every single day. It's right here. If you're viewing us on your TV today, or on the web, in a number of different places, right there, Megacast link right at the top of our page, or just visit us at civiccentertv.com and click on that Megacast link. On that link, you'll also find information about our partnering stations. You'll find information about where you can watch the Megacast on demand every single day. Our full episodes, each individual interview, all of those are all on demand every single day, usually mid to late afternoon. We are posting those. Also on our website at civiccentertv.com, if you go to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, you're going to find information on COVID-19 from trusted, reliable, expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, allowing you to stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19. Now, you may be wondering, like, what's going on here, Tyler? What are we doing? You're in a different background. You're back where you used to be like 6-8 months ago. What is going on? It seems like you're all over the place. I am. I'm switching everything today. Calvin Brown, our technical director, has a day off, much earned day off, long overdue. And so today I am solo at the controls again. Also, this serves as my April Fool's prank toward myself, courtesy of the Megacast network all across Oakland County and around the state of Michigan, beginning at 11 o'clock on My Michigan TV at mymytv.com to learn more information and to learn where you can download their smart TV and their smartphone apps. But we'll get back to our regular Megacasting for today for the Oakland County Hour, and when we always begin with our top stories making headlines every day. Also on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We scour news outlets all across the Great Lakes state in order to keep you up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19 and more in your community and communities surrounding you as well. Today, our top story on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus is from the Detroit News. 2 more Republican candidates for Michigan's gubernatorial position have filed petitions for signatures and to get themselves on the ballot for the August primary. Ralph Rambin, a pastor from Oakland County, and Michael Brown, a Michigan State Police captain from Stevensville, filed petition signatures on Tuesday in hopes of getting on the August primary ballot as Republican candidates for governor. Rambin and Brown became the 3rd and the 4th GOP gubernatorial hopefuls to submit their petitions, a key achievement for their campaigns, a week before the April 19th deadline hits and those lock in. Other candidates include, of course, former Detroit Police Chief James Craig, conservative commentator Tudor Dixon of Norton Shores, are expected to submit their paperwork in the coming days to qualify them before that April 19th deadline. It remains unclear how many of the 12 candidates on the Republican side currently seeking the GOP nomination to challenge incumbent Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer in November will actually make the ballot. Quote, "I'm just confident about where my campaign is going," Brown said, standing outside the Michigan Department of State office in downtown Lansing. "I do think there are some real struggles out there with the other campaigns. It takes 15,000 valid signatures to get on the GOP primary ballot in the state of Michigan. The petitions will be examined by state employees and likely other campaigns. By May 31st, the Board of State Canvassers must complete a canvass of those petitions. Brown said he submitted 21,800 signatures and was 100% confident that he had met that threshold. His campaign is focused on prosperity and safety for Michigan residents, he said. Quote, We need an accomplished leader to lead this party into the future, Brown said. That's what my campaign is all about. Known as Captain Mike, he served 34 years in the state police, currently running the agency and is currently running the agency's Southwest District. Rebent's campaign said it submitted 16,300 signatures, 1,300 more than the low water mark on Tuesday, but plans to file even more signatures before the April 19th deadline. He served as the pastor of the Oakland Hills Community Church for 35 years. It has a congregation of about 250 people. Rebent said he wants to, quote, make Michigan a lighthouse to the nation, end closed quote. Continuing on, Rebent said, we want to bring back sanity to our state by promoting truth, transparency, and accountability. Rebent's campaign has sponsored billboards that are currently posted in what he described as, quote-unquote, strategic areas of Michigan. One of them is a memo to Governor Whitmer and Democratic President Joe Biden that reads, in part, quote, Dear Gretchen and Joe, don't worry about the roads anymore because we can't afford to drive, end closed quote. Yeah, that's creative. Thanks. That's part of the billboard's messages. Garrett Soldano, a chiropractor by trade who became a political activist challenging Governor Whitmer's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, is also a candidate, was the first GOP gubernatorial candidate to submit petition signatures for the 2022 election on January 19th. He filed just over 20,000 signatures according to state records. Michael Markey, a financial advisor and self-described quote-unquote moderate, turned in nearly 22,000 signatures on March 18th. Also making headlines on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from the Detroit News as well. A utility union is saying that DTE is blocking progress on contract negotiations for new members. The Utility Workers Union of America, AFL-CIO, says DTE Energy is blocking progress on negotiating a first contract with a small unit of members that organized last year. The union's general counsel, David Retke, contends DTE is elongating the negotiation process by only agreeing to 2 out of about 50 proposals presented outside of wages and other economics. The two sides have met 8 times since December, according to the union. The negotiations are for 27 members of the Local 223 who are wind and engineering technicians who are not covered by a contract with about 3,500 other DTE employees. That 6-year agreement was reached in March of 2021 with the Local 223, Radke said. DTE representatives, quote-unquote, refused to agree to some of the same terms reached last year for the current contract, he said. He added the company will only meet virtually once a week for 2 hours, though a session scheduled for tomorrow is supposed to be about 4 hours. In this article was written late yesterday, so tomorrow in this article means today, Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. Quote, we should be way further along in contract negotiations than where we are, Radke said. If they wanted to reach an agreement, it seems like we would definitely be on wages and benefits, but we're nowhere close. DTE, in a statement on Tuesday to the Detroit News, said in part, quote, at all times since the company's 27 wind and engineering technicians voted to organize, we have engaged in good faith negotiations with the union with the goal of reaching a fair and responsible first collective bargaining agreement that addresses our mutual needs. Quote, we are meeting with the union again tomorrow, and we remain committed to negotiating in good faith and optimistic that through our collective efforts, we will reach an agreement that works for the dedicated wind and engineering technicians and also for our customers. In a statement, UWUA President James Slevin called for DTE management to change its stance on talks, saying, quote, DTE's disappointing and disrespectful behavior toward these 27 members since they organized last year is not what we would expect from a company we've had a very good working relationship with for almost 80 years. Finally, making headlines on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from our friends over at Bridge, Michigan. Daily trout limits in Lake Huron may be reduced due to overfishing. Previously, we had brought a story to you from one of our beloved news outlets throughout the state of Michigan about additional allowances for fishing certain fish this summer season, spring and summer season, during the fishing season. Some things are changing now due to counts, particularly in Lake Huron. This is from Bridge, Michigan, of course. Michigan anglers caught too many lake trout and splake in northern Lake Huron last year, which means a reduced catch limit this season. The state DNR, or Department of Natural Resources, is recommending that the Natural Resource Commission reduce the daily catch limit for lake trout and splake from 3 to 2 fish because recreational anglers exceeded limits spelled out in the 2000 Great Lakes Consent Decree with state tribes. The NRC will consider the recommendation on Thursday. The Consent Decree is an agreement that governs the state and tribal fisheries spelled out in the 1836 Treaty of Washington, which ceded more than 13 million acres of Native American land in northern Michigan and enshrined fishing rights of the Grand Traverse Band, the Bay Mills Indian Community, the Little Traverse Bay Band of Ottawa Indians, and the Sioux Tribe of Chippewa Indians and Little River Band of Ottawa Indians as well. The deal gives tribes 88% of the lake trout population in northern Lake Huron and about 12% to non-tribal anglers. The ratio is reversed on the southern end of the lake, however, and tribes get 5% of the trout, while state-licensed anglers get 95% of the trout in that lake. That, again, from Bridge, Michigan. This is this article. That's partly because certain populations of fish, including salmon, are driving more anglers to target trout, experts said. The lake trout is available year-round for charter fishing industry, said Eric Anderson, former president of the Michigan Charter Boat Association and current member of the Lake Huron Citizen Fisher Advisory Council. Quote, "You're taking people out on a charter and the people want to catch fish. They don't have to catch salmon. They want to catch fish, so you target lake trout," and closed quote. The consent decree expired in August of 2020, but COVID-19 pandemic information and regulations delayed negotiations. The state and tribes are currently negotiating terms and limits of a new agreement. Randy Claremont, a DNR Lake Huron Basin coordinator, said the consent decree is meant to set quotes that try to promote a balanced fishery. When the consent decree was established, Claremont said the lake trout allocation was set at a low amount because the salmon fishery was strong. Claremont said state anglers also exceeded the consent decree's northern Lake Huron lake trout limit by 28% in 2018. After triggering the penalty, the NRC reduced the catch limit from 3 to 2 in 2019 and met its harvest limit requirements. More so, the DNR believes seasonally differing regulations for fish can complicate enforcement efforts. Another option that the NRC has in its toolbox is to ensure the consent decree's requirements are met, is to reduce the lake trout and splake bag limits from 3 fish to 1 fish. This is an extensive article. There's much more in this from our friends over at Bridge, Michigan. Highly encourage you to go to our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus to learn more information, to read this article, to read all the supporting materials as well, and keep up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19 from those valuable resources at the Centers for Disease Control, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. Stay up to date on everything that you need to know on everything there. Again, I am switching everything here live today myself while hosting. I'm just looking for one specific graphic here that I will eventually locate before we go to this break. We do have an excellent show planned ahead for you today on this edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we will be speaking with Shakeena Melbourne, the principal attorney at Upton Law Firm, on the Oakland County Megacast. To cap off the hour, Michael Zappo from the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Oakland County will join us. And then in the Michigan Megacast, 3 excellent interviews coming up. We'll talk to the Love Doctor, Dr. Terry Orbick from Oakland University, Patrick Wells O'Brien from Gift of Life, Michigan, talking about organ donations. And then we'll cap off the show talking about a lot of fun that's happening right here in Oakland County over at Canterbury Village in Orion Charter Township with Keith Aldridge, the owner of Canterbury Village. That is all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast on our family of TV, radio, and other media outlets.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll learn more information about all of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us each and every day over there, and you'll be able to find all of our programs on demand as well. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. That'll give you all the information that you need to know on this program, and view us each and every day, as well as original programming from a number of different outlets all throughout Oakland County and around the state of Michigan. Joining us now is Shakeena Melbourne, the principal attorney at Upton Law, PLLC. Joining us now on the Oakland County Megacast. Shakeena, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, excited to have you on the program with us as well. You have an extensive background in law. You're the board director of Moving Legacies, a nonprofit, the founder of Veterans for Me, another nonprofit. You're the board director of Filthy Cares, which is ran by a multi-time Megacast guest, Filthy Rockwell, and we really adore his organization, and a board member as well of the Center for Success. You have an extensive background, you do a lot in the community, and you're the principal attorney as well at the Upton Law Firm. Let's begin with your law career. Tell us about your journey to become an attorney. What inspired you to go down this road and go into this particular career path?
It's an interesting story, believe it or not. My mom has a story where she tells that I was around 3 years old and I had this little small desk in my room. And the Barbie and the Teddy were fighting with each other, and I was the judge in the middle of the case, fighting over who would get the candy. And so that's how the journey started with the law. There's no one in my family that have any legal background, so I don't actually know exactly where this thought process came from, but I took the journey and I kept going with it. In second grade, I had a teacher ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I told her, I want to be a judge. And she said, a judge? I said, yes. So we sat down and we wrote out a plan of all the schooling required to become a judge. And so I followed that journey the entire time, and here I am practicing with my own law firm.
We're joined by Shakeena Melbourne, the principal attorney at Upton Law, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And so you particularly focus in a couple of different areas. Your primary focus areas are in bankruptcy law and expungement as well. Can you tell us how you came along to those two specific subsects of law being your primary areas of focus and passion?
Yeah, so outside of my Juris Doctorate, which is your law degree, I also have what's called an LLM, which is a Master's of Law in Corporate and Finance. Right after I finished law school, about a year or two later, I joined a law firm where they specialized in bankruptcy, but they specialized with companies when an individual filed bankruptcy. Being that I had that type of background, it worked out great that I was able to help these companies in the bankruptcy area. However, when I started my own firm, I realized I was able to have some skill sets that I could help individuals when they were filing bankruptcy. And so I work with Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, which is a consumers when the individual or a small business file bankruptcy. And then as for expungements, one of the things I learned is when I help small business owners discover some of them have past criminal backgrounds that might be hindering them from getting business credit. And so that's what expungements came a big part of the firm, because then we were able to get rid of past criminal records that were hindering small business owners.
We're joined by Shakeena Melbourne, the principal attorney at Upton Law, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And there's a lot of information out there about bankruptcy. There's been a lot more discussion about bankruptcy as an option for some people, as a potential major negative for people's financial future, for their credit scores, given that we're starting to come out of the thick of things in the COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of those bills that were maybe suspended during the pandemic or were relieved and given some sort of clemency during the pandemic are starting to come due, and in some cases quite aggressively. So what are some myths or some misnomers about bankruptcy that are common out in the community, common out in discussions, that people should be aware of as being potentially risky for them if they're considering bankruptcy, or let's just clear them up so that they know the correct information as they're considering bankruptcy, and certainly if they're considering executing a bankruptcy themselves?
So you asked a 2-3 part question. You know, as an attorney, I have to break this down.
Sure.
But a lot of things. So I even wrote a book about the benefits of bankruptcy. I think that people have been told, people meaning society, media, has been told that bankruptcy has been this negative thing, or that you are a failure. And I don't believe that to be true at all. Being on the side of the companies and then now being on the side of helping individuals, there's way more benefits to bankruptcy than people understand. One of the things you brought up was during the pandemic. During the pandemic, most of 2020 into 2021, many companies could not collect on any debts. That includes mortgages, car notes. The repossession companies were out of commission. I wouldn't say out of business, but out of commission during the pandemic. Well, in the state of Michigan particularly, there's a law that says a creditor has up to 10 years to collect on a debt, which means that debt may no longer be on your credit report. However, that creditor has the ability to still try to attempt to collect that debt up to 10 years. Many companies, the 10-year marker for many companies was during the pandemic. Because that pause took place, creditors are now aggressively going after debts that are close to the 10-year marker now. So you'll see a lot of individuals are now being sued from collection agencies, credit card companies, personal loans, unsecured loans, and that's affecting them because tax returns have been garnished at this point, or in the process of being garnished because of those past debts. You have paychecks being garnished, or you are now getting letters from a lawsuit that is pending. Bankruptcy helps with all three of those. Bankruptcy helps with stopping a repossession. Bankruptcy helps with stopping a foreclosure, a forfeiture on property taxes. Bankruptcy can even help you get your driver's license back if your license was suspended for a significant amount of parking tickets or moving violations. These are all things that we're seeing now coming out of the pandemic that are affecting people today. Right? And so,
please continue.
Go ahead, and so those are things where it's like, okay, it's best to at least talk to or do a consultation with a bankruptcy attorney, because bankruptcy is also a formula. Everyone does not qualify for bankruptcy. And some people have filed. You've ever heard those stories where, oh, that one person filed bankruptcy and they lost their house, their car, and everything? That's probably because they didn't actually meet the requirements for the formula for bankruptcy. As long as you meet the formula, you have a 98 to 99% chance of actually getting that bankruptcy from start to finish completed and reaping the benefits of the bankruptcy.
So when people are considering bankruptcy, should that be considered a last resort, or should that be considered one of those midway tools to try to resolve your debts, clear up your financial situation, and ultimately put you in a position that can provide you that relief, maybe not immediately, but months or years down the road, and eventually get you back to a point where you have control of your financial future?
Now, that's a really good question. And so I have to give you the lawyer answer. It depends, right? The best way to do it is finding enough information so that you can make the best final decision for you and your family. Sometimes that could be at the beginning. Hey, I have so much debt that coming out of the pandemic, I was sick, my hours changed at work significantly, and now I'm 6 months behind with my bills. That might be something you want to look at the beginning. If you're at the middle where you were able to juggle a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but now you're like, okay, I've juggled so long that I'm at a point of discomfort. Maybe that's the time to look at it. It doesn't have to be a last resort, but many people do. They've tried payment plans, they've tried to set up all these things to try to help. And you're at the point where, okay, I'm done, I'm exhausted, I just can't do this anymore. Then bankruptcy is something you should also look into. But I'm in the business of education more than anything else. And so it's more important for me to tell an individual that calls a consultation, because we do consultations for free. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's make sure the information you saw online, the information you talk to your peers about is actually the information that relates to you personally, because bankruptcy is a one-on-one, person-to-person or case-to-case basis. And let's see if it works for you. If it does not, we also work with other companies that may help with credit management or educating you on credit on how to get you back in the position that you need to be to help yourself or your family.
We're joined by Shakeena Melbourne. She is the principal attorney at Upton Law Firm, PLLC. Joining us on the Oakland County Megacast, one of your other areas of expertise is expungement. And first of all, for those that may not be familiar with this legal concept, what is expungement and who qualifies?
So I like to describe expungement. The simplest way is getting rid of something, right? Waiving something. And that's what the word expunge, get rid of, means. So what you're doing is getting rid of criminal records that took place anywhere between 3, 5, or more than 7 years old. In April of 2021, Governor Whitmore came out with a new law that changed the process of expungement. Prior to April of 2021, you can only have one felony and no more than 2 misdemeanors in order to get rid of that felony, for example. Based on the new law from Governor Whitmore, you can now have up to 3 felonies and an unlimited amount of misdemeanors. Well, what does that mean? In the state of Michigan, a misdemeanor can be as simple as a traffic offense. If you are driving on an unsuspended license, or if you're driving and the vehicle is uninsured, those can end up being considered misdemeanors on your record as a criminal record, right? And so many people here, believe it or not, may have more traffic offenses as misdemeanors than felonies. They were unable to then expunge a felony that they had from 10 years ago because they had 3 traffic offenses. Well, under the new law, you can have an unlimited amount of misdemeanors and still be able to get rid of up to 3 felonies at a time. In addition to that, the new law says if you were charged and or convicted with multiple criminal charges on the same day, so let's say you were driving the vehicle, you got convicted of having a CCW issue, meaning you had a concealed weapon and you probably didn't have your CPL. You had drugs in your vehicle and you were driving on a suspended license. Under the new law, we can file one expungement application and attempt to get rid of all 3 felonies on one day using one application under this new law, which then allows you to have up to 6 felonies and still be able to get rid of them because you were able to use one application to get rid of several. And what I'm learning is that this is helping a lot of Michiganders. This is expected to help up to at least 1 million or more Michiganders be able to get those promotions at jobs, be able to get through those background checks, be able to get these federal contracts or state contracts in construction jobs. And it works.
We're joined by Shakeena Melbourne, the principal attorney at Upton Law Firm, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And so for those that are up for expungement or qualify for expungement, what are those steps that they should be taking as soon as possible or as soon as they qualify in order to then go through the process? And then on top of that, just a secondary question to piggyback off of that, how long generally, and I'm sure it depends person to person, is the process of filing for an expungement, going through that process, and then ultimately on the positive end, having whatever charges may be on your record that are qualifying for expungement be expunged.
Okay. So the first step in any expungement process is being able to pull your record. Some people know where they were last convicted, and so they will know which city or state that was in. Not state, because it's Michigan, but the city, right? For those who do not know, the Michigan State Police has a website called iChat, where you pull your electronic criminal record so that you can see what's on it, what you were convicted of, and then are you eligible? The laws are based on what is the last thing that happened in your case. So that's where the time frame is. So for example, if let's say we're expunging a misdemeanor, and that misdemeanor must be at least 3 years old. It's not 3 years old from the date of your conviction. It's 3 years old from the last thing that happened in your case. So if you were on probation, for example, that clock starts the last day of your probation. That makes sense. And so that's the same thing for any felonies. Once we make sure you're eligible, the next step is actually just filing documents with the court, as well as the Michigan State Police, the Attorney General's office, and the prosecuting office of that county where you were convicted. Today, so pre-COVID, from start to finish, an expungement would be 30, no more than 60 days long. Post-COVID, many courts still not open to the public. We're still trying to sort through this process. It might take up to 6 months. And that's just because of each agency has to send reports to the judge, and the judge has to be able to review all of the reports to make sure the individual that's applying qualifies.
We're joined by Shakeena Melbourne, the principal attorney at Upton Law Firm, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. You work in a number of different areas. You are a multi-talented person. You're also an author. Can you tell us about some of the books that you have written, and where people can find them if they'd like to read some of your material?
Yeah, so I've written 3 books so far. The first one is an I am book. I was struggling with who I am and who do I believe I am. So I thought I would share that with other people. It's just a poetry book, and it can be found on Amazon. And it's just a digital Amazon and Apple Books, iBooks. And the other 2 books are on bankruptcy. So the first one is about the benefits of filing bankruptcy, whether it's a Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, but understanding the mental process and the emotional process of filing bankruptcy and understanding the benefits of it. The second book is specifically tailored to Chapter 7 bankruptcy and the benefits of filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Both books can be found on pretty much any digital platform. They're also available in paper copy. So that can mean Barnes & Nobles, that's Amazon, that's Apple Books, you can find the link even on the firm's website for all 3 of the books.
Another element of the work that you do, the benefit of the community, is you do a lot of work with nonprofits. I want to give you a moment to talk about one in particular that you work with. You're the board of directors of Moving Legacies, a nonprofit. Can you tell us about that nonprofit and how you got involved with Moving Legacies?
Yeah, so Moving Legacies is actually a nonprofit my brother and I came up with. So my brother is a military veteran, and he came home. He's 100% disabled. And one of the things we discovered that helped him in his recovery process after coming home was helping other people. So Moving Legacy was built on the concept of helping single mothers and children in different ways that they may need help. We've done a couple of back-to-school events, and we actually partner with the Center for Success, which is a nonprofit in the city of Detroit that helps children or students between the 2nd and 5th grade on learning and literacy. And so we work together to do things or activities, summer programs, where we will introduce the students with different business ideas or concepts that help them to figure out what they want to be when they grow up, in addition to back-to-school events.
Shakeena, before we let you go, where can people find more information about you, about your law firm, your social media, and get in contact with you or with your law firm if they should need some help or some consultation?
Yeah, so you can go to the website. It's www.uptonlawpllc.com. That's UPTON, I like to say that because people say Uptown, like the song with Bruno Mars. No, Upton, UPTON, LAWPLLC.com. As well as social media handles are the same. It's Upton Law PLLC.
Shakeena, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You as well. We've been joined by Shakeena Melbourne, principal attorney at Upton Law Firm, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. We are going to take a break here on the program. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by another great guest on the Oakland County Hour. We'll talk all about recycling on the Oakland County Megacast coming up in just a couple of minutes with Michael Zappo from the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Michigan. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around. And I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
We often hear reduce, reuse, recycle as a saying to encourage sustainable use of goods and preventing further pollution from trash, but what does it mean to recycle and what mistakes may we be making as we attempt to do so? Joining us now to talk about that and more is Michael Zappo, the General Manager of Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Oakland County. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good to have you with us. So first, can you tell us about the organization that you work with, the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Oakland County? What sort of services does this authority provide to those in Oakland County, and who does it serve in the county?
Sure, Tyler. So the authority is a municipal solid waste authority. We represent 9 municipalities in Southwest Oakland County, stretching from Southfield out to South Lyon, and we help those communities manage and design, manage those programs for trash, recycling, yard waste, hazardous materials, everything dealing with the stuff that we bring into our homes and then want to get rid of at some point. We have in Southfield a materials recovery facility to which the recycled materials are brought for processing, made into commodities for the value chain, the critical supply chain, and shipped to market. That facility serves not just the 9 communities, though, that I represent, but a variety of communities throughout Southeast Michigan, including many communities in Oakland County, and then the surrounding counties as well. So we focus on trying to make sure that folks understand what can and cannot be recycled, and making sure that's properly prepared before we get it to prepare it for the critical supply chain.
So then what is exactly the process of recycling? Because people will put items that they believe are recyclable in the recycling bins. They'll be picked up by whatever trash authority is assigned to their municipality, and then off it goes, and we don't think about it again. But once those products are off and on their way to the recycling centers, where they're being processed, what happens from there in order to actually recycle these different items?
Yeah, at a materials recovery facility, otherwise known as a MRF, what will happen is that material will get dumped out of the truck onto what we call the tip floor. And from that point, it then gets loaded into a system. That system is essentially a combination of mechanical and manual means of sorting those materials into the various commodities. And so we'll make bales of paper and bales of cardboard and bales of tin and bales of milk jugs. But along that way, what we have to do is make sure that we're pulling out those materials that aren't recyclable. Very often people will put something into their recycling cart, either because they think it's recyclable, or in some cases just because they were looking for a convenient way to dispose of something. And so it's incumbent upon the team at the MRF to make sure that those materials are pulled out for a variety of reasons. One is that they can constitute contaminants to the actual product that's being shipped to a paper mill or a plastics processor. They can also present dangers to the employees that are sorting out these materials at the MRF. Some cases, like a lithium battery, may start a fire. In some cases, it may just be something that can damage some equipment, a big piece of metal that's larger than what the system can handle. So there's a variety of checkpoints along the way where people are pre-sorting the material, making sure that the non-recyclable materials are safely removed, and then the rest of the system then is involved in separating those materials into the various commodity grades, whether it's with optical sorters or rotating screens or magnets or eddy currents, or by hand, whichever the case may be. And then, of course, all those material streams are quality checked before they go off to the baler, which bales these materials into their individual commodities in weights of 1,500 to 2,000 pounds, subsequently loaded onto a truck and then shipped off to the next destination, whether it's a paper mill here in Michigan, a plastics processor, or perhaps somewhere else in the United States.
And so after that point, when these products are shipped off to a paper mill or to a plastic processing plant or wherever they may go, having them then get eventually recirculated back into the population as that same product, fresh and new again, how does that process happen? Because whether it be paper that's got text printed all over it or images printed all over it, or single-use plastics that have been dirtied up, I would imagine there's quite an extensive process that goes into re-preparing that to be usable again in some form or fashion.
Oh, indeed. So it varies by commodity. So, for example, aluminum can generally be made into another aluminum can. So it's a process of smelting it, and then it has to go through a cleaning process and a smelting process, and it's made into new aluminum cans. Something like paper goes through what we call a pulping process. So it goes through this sort of chemistry project at the paper mill where it's made into sort of a paste, and then contaminants are screened out. If it needs to be bleached because they want a lighter grade of paper that they're going to be using, or they, in some cases, you'll see that, for example, some paper won't be made into the exact same thing it was made in before, but it'll be made into another type of paper, depending upon, what that mill produces. Plastics, much the same way. It'll go through a shredding process, then a washing and rinsing process, where it's ultimately either flaked or pelletized and made into essentially a raw material that can then be used in either blown molded or injection molded manufacturing to make new products. Very often it's going to be food packaging. In the case of paper, we're very often looking at making more packaging material like boxes for packaging food, packaging medical supplies, and packaging all the goods that we get on a regular basis, whether we go to a brick and mortar store and buy them, or we get them shipped to our house by Amazon.
And so we're joined by Michael Zappo, the General Manager of the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of South Oakland County, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on rrasoc.org, rrasoc.org for more information, as they serve 9 different communities in Oakland County, that being the city of Farmington, Farmington Hills, Milford, Milford Township, Novi, Southfield, South Lyon, and Wixom. More information, again, rrasoc.org. And so, Michael, this is about the time where people will be beginning or already in process of doing some spring cleaning in their home, in their office, and so on. And a lot of these things that they are clearing out of their home, whether they be for cluttering reasons or they're no longer using them, whatever the reason may be. Oftentimes, they're simply just throwing them away. They're tossing them into a dumpster. They're tossing them into their trash can. A lot of these items, however, can be recycled. What are some of these items that are commonly thrown away instead of being recycled because of either a lack of knowledge on their recyclability or because they are just generally have always been considered trash?
Yeah, so it really falls into sort of two categories. I would suggest it's those things that are recyclable that go into your recycling cart or bin, and those are going to be old boxes and magazines and papers and that collection of National Geographics that's been sitting around for the last 40 years. All those things can go in your recycling container and they'll be made into a new paper product in some form or fashion. Very often people are recycling or trying to throw away, I should say, other types of things from their garages, their sheds, their basements, things like oil-based paints, thinners, cleaners, pesticides, household chemicals. And it's really important to handle those things properly because, one, they don't belong in your recycling because they're not recyclable in that way, like your aluminum cans and your old magazines. But they also don't belong in your trash. And of course, we also don't want them improperly disposed. We don't want, old gasoline, for example, poured down a drain or poured out in the yard. There's a lot of environmental hazards there. So we want to make sure that stuff is handled properly. So depending upon where you live, your community will be part of an organization that will have a household hazardous waste collection program. In the 9 communities that we represent, we have 7 collection events each year where people can bring us the oil-based paints, the thinners, the cleaners, the pesticides, the old medications, for example. We want to make sure that those things are brought to one of those events so that if it's got some value left and can be made into something new, like if it's a combustible liquid that can be used for generating energy, we want to capture that energy content. If it's something that just needs to be disposed of properly so it doesn't contaminate the environment, doesn't come into contact with people or the environment through illicit dumping or improper disposal, we want to prevent that. So check with your community to find out when the next household hazardous waste collection event is, because at those events, that's really your opportunity to take all that stuff that you might be generating as part of the spring cleaning and making sure that it's going down the right pathway so that it's being handled safely and we're capturing the value if it has value. And if not, we're, again, making sure it's properly disposed so that we're not creating hazards. And one of the things that we like to focus on is old medications. A lot of police departments also will take old pills. We want to have people routinely go through their medicine cabinets and go through the place where they store their medications and make sure they're not keeping around old medications that are either expired or there's something they don't need anymore. We don't want them to accidentally take the wrong medication. We certainly don't want people for whom that medication wasn't prescribed to get their hands on that medication, and that they don't also belong flushed down the toilet, because then it ends up in the ecosystem and that creates problems as well. So these hazardous waste events, as well as many police departments, are well equipped to take your old medications and make sure that they're properly handled in a safe way and in a secure way as well, so they don't fall into the wrong hands.
Visit your local police department headquarters or call your local police department on the non-emergency line in order to talk about whether or not they are involved in a drug take-back program such as Operation Medicine Cabinet or something else in your local area. And then we're also being joined today by Michael Zappel, the General Manager of the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Oakland County. Their upcoming household hazardous waste disposal events include April 9th at the Wixom Department of Public Works, April 23rd at the RRA SOC MRF truck entrance, May 7th at the Oakland Community College Orchard Ridge campus located on Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills, and May 21st at the Milford Civic Center. More information on the website rrasoc.org. That's rrasoc.org. And so, Michael, we've talked about some of the common items in the home and your work environment that may be recyclable and are often thrown out. Let's go on the opposite end now. What are some of those common items that are often recycled, go into the plants for sorting, and then have to be sorted out because they're not actually recyclable, but people may think that they are?
Probably the most common item would be plastic bags. or shrink wrap. You know, if you buy a case of water bottles, for example, it'd be in a cardboard box, which is readily recyclable. All those bottles, including the caps, are readily recyclable. But that shrink wrap around the outside that's holding those bottles in that box, it might be labeled as recyclable, but it is not something we can process. It gets tangled up in our equipment. You know, the plastics processors don't want it on the scale that would, you know, be generated. So that's something that's not recyclable. Plastic bags, you know, grocery bags, bags you might get from a retailer. Another big mistake we see folks making is they will collect their recyclables in a plastic bag and then put that plastic bag with recyclables in it in a container at a drop-off center or in their recycling cart or recycling bin. And that's a problem for us as well. We do not open bags for a couple of reasons. One is it's just not efficient. It really slows down the entire process and really creates a lot of problems for us. But the more important one is it's a safety issue. Our staff, they don't know what's in those bags. And if they, you know, they're not going to start opening up a bag because it might be something hazardous. It might be just trash. It might contaminate the rest of the material, and it might pose some sort of hazard to the staff person as well. So if we see bags of recyclables on our tip floor, those end up in the trash. So someone may have gone to the trouble of collecting the recyclables in a bag thinking they're doing something right, but because they improperly prepared them, we end up having to throw them away. And we see that with other items as well, even recyclable items. You know, if that dog food can has still got, you know, half a can of dog food in it, you know, we really can't use that. We do not want those organic food products, whether it's dog food or, you know, can of beans or whatever the case may be, with our recyclable materials. The places that we have to send them don't want the food in the product. We don't want it on our tip floor because it creates smells, it attracts vectors, you know, flies and raccoons and possums and you name it. So we ask people to make sure that their stuff is rinsed out. Now, they don't have to run that old food can or that soup can through the dishwasher. It doesn't have to be pristine, but we do want them to take the time to rinse it out, make sure it's clean, empty, and dry is the phrase that we like to use. And once it's clean, empty, and dry, it's certainly recyclable and can go in, you know, in your container. We also, of course, recommend that people visit our website or their community's website. We have a mobile app, in fact, called the Recycling Directory, where you can type in a material and it'll tell you what to do with it, whether or not it is recyclable, because we want people to familiarize themselves with the rules of what can and cannot be recycled. They'll find it's really pretty straightforward and there's a lot of common sense things in there, but we do find that people will sometimes be misled by the labeling on a package because it might say it's recyclable when in fact it's not. And then the other big mistake that is out there, it's really not folks' fault, but plastic products have this little arrows chasing arrows typically on the bottom with a number in the middle. And that's a resin code identifying the type of plastic out of which that product is made. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that it's recyclable. It just really says what type of plastic it is. But depending on how that product is made out of that type of plastic, it may or may not be recyclable. And it's only really recyclable, as I like to say, if it's practically recyclable. Can we cost effectively collect it at scale? Can we cost effectively and safely sort it at a processing facility? And perhaps most importantly, is there some place downstream, like a paper mill, like a plastics processor, like a metals processor, that wants that as a raw material that they can then either themselves or ship it further downstream to some manufacturer that will make that into a new product? Because if it can't be made into a new product, you know, cost effectively, it's not really recyclable, even if it might be labeled as recyclable. So check your guidelines, check your rules. Many times you'll see stamped on the lid of your recycling cart what can and cannot go into that cart. And so then, of course, if there's any questions, folks can always reach out to either us or their municipality, you know, or send us an email, give us a telephone call, or simply just check our website at rasoc.org to find out what can and cannot go into the recycling cart.
We're joined by Michael Zoppel, the General Manager of the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Oakland County on the Michigan Megacast, rrrasoc.org for more information, rrrasoc.org. to learn more, or you can also call them at 248-208-2270, 248-208-2270. Leslie, I live in an apartment complex. We don't have specific recycling services available. There's not a recycling dumpster that's there. This is a common problem, not just here in Michigan, but really everywhere that recycling happens. Has this void in the recycling system, has that been ever even remotely addressed? And if not, then, and if it's not something that could potentially be solved anytime soon, what should those that are living in an apartment or in another facility that does not include recycling services, what should they do in order to contribute to recycling these products?
So that is a problem that's being worked on, and there's a couple of ways to address it. In the near term, many of us, like the authority, we have a drop-off facility. We have a drop-off facility in Southfield, and we have a drop-off facility in Novi, and people can find the location of that on both those sites on our website. And those sites accept the same things that a single-family homeowner would be able to put in their recycling cart. So we encourage people that live in apartments to make themselves aware of those opportunities. And we're not the only drop-off sites in Oakland County. There are other sites, and there are other sites throughout Southeast Michigan, and of course across the country. We are also working, from a broader policy standpoint to figure out ways to encourage multifamily recycling. Very often it ends up being the responsibility of the folks that own that apartment complex to provide for those services for their tenants. But they're not going to do that unless their tenants value that and want that service at their site. That on-site recycling that can be done logistically, it's a little bit more complicated than curbside recycling for single-family homes, but it can be done at multifamily units. But the tenants have to want it, and the managers of those facilities have to make those arrangements. Sometimes logistically, it's a little bit more challenging because historically, apartment complexes weren't designed to accommodate recycling services. And so, there are some workarounds that may have to be done. But at the end of the day, it is possible. And we're working, as a recycling community, and the state of Michigan through its Renew Michigan program is trying to figure out ways to encourage more multifamily and apartment recycling. But in the meantime, we do have our drop-off sites available, and folks are more than welcome to use it, whether or not they live in our 9 communities or not. If they live in one of the neighboring communities that doesn't have a drop-off and they don't have at-home recycling, they can bring it to our drop-off in Novi or in Southfield, and we'll take it from there.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
as partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's Megacast continues in just a moment. Adults have a tough time understanding love, and it can often be even tougher of a concept to understand as a child. But having conversations with your kids about love can play a key role in ensuring that they understand healthy relationships and develop strong boundaries. Joining us now is a distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University and is known commonly as the Love Doctor. Dr. Terry Orbick joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Dr. Orbick, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're known as the Love Doctor.
Well, as you said, Tyler, I'm a distinguished professor at Oakland University. I'm a therapist and a relationship coach. I'm also the director of a long-term research project where I've been following the same couples now for over 34 years. And as the Love Doctor, I'm bringing my science, my research, as well as others' research to the public in accessible ways so that people can implement that great science-based information into their lives.
So how can the science that you are researching, the sociological side of human behavior, the anthropological side of human behavior that plays a key factor in love relationships. How does that help you ultimately impact these relationships of the people that you're coaching and of those that you're researching and aiding their relationships over time?
Well, lots of relationship advice out there is based on individuals' personal experience, or as a therapist, let's say clinical experience. But when you use science, you know that it's general information that can really help and benefit your relationships, because we're talking about researchers like myself who have looked at lots of couples, lots of individuals over time, and you know that the information can be generalized to you and your relationships. So it's good science that can help you improve your own relationships as well as the relationships of your children.
We so often hear about the impact that parents' relationships can have on their kids, but don't normally talk about the flip side of that, where a kid's relationship, whether they're a teenager or they're an adult child of their parents, can have an impact on their parents and their familial relationship as well. You recently wrote a book called Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships. Briefly, what is that book about, and what motivated you to write about this perspective of relationships?
Well, as parents, Tyler, we want the best for our children. And one of the things that we can give our children is science-based information about how relationships work and what is important to a happy, healthy relationships. Because relationships, healthy relationships, are so important to individuals' health and well-being, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. So when our kids are happy and healthy in their relationships, that's going to benefit us and help us. And we're going to feel better because our kids are happy and healthy. So I wrote this book because as parents, we set the tone for how our kids act in relationships, feel about relationships, and the relationship skills they have to build happy, healthy relationships. I heard from parents all over the United States that they don't know how to start the important conversations with their children, and they don't know what's important to a happy, healthy relationship. So as parents, we have the responsibility not only to model healthy relationships in our own lives, but talk to our kids about relationships in general.
Especially with teenage kids, it can be really uncomfortable, particularly for the kids, but also I would imagine for the parents approaching their kids to have those conversations and check in with them on their romantic relationships. And so what sort of advice do you give to parents to initiate those conversations, to maintain those conversations, and help guide their kids through these romantic relationships that for many of them may be the first time that they're engaging in these kinds of relationships in their lives?
Well, good question. First, I think it is challenging. It is difficult for parents to approach their kids and start talking about relationship. It's not easy. So the first piece of information that I have, or advice that I have, is to know that it is going to be difficult and challenging, and have that expectation. Second, it's important to build trust with your child or children. And when we trust, our kids are going to be more likely to share and to come to us when they're experiencing a heartbreak, when they have issues in a relationship, and that's what we want. So start setting that groundwork with them early. Talk to them, share experiences of your own relationships. Talk to them about television shows or books that you're reading, and use the characters in the movie, the sitcoms, the television shows to talk about relationships. And then finally, start the important discussions, and don't judge. Don't lecture, don't tell them what to do, but ask questions so that they can have the epiphany, so that they can understand or have answers. Don't tell them what to feel, but lead them down a path so that you get the answers that you want. And that's a really interesting situation, Tyler. We don't want to lecture, but we want to ask questions so our kids then come up with the answers.
We're joined by the Love Doctor, Dr. Terry Orbick, a distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University and the author of Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships. And Dr. Orbick, throughout the book, you mention multiple times good relationships with your for your children start with you. What do you mean by that, and just how great of an impact can a parent's influence on their kids have on their kids' relationships, the longevity of the relationships, and certainly the quality and the health of that relationship?
Well, we as parents have a huge impact. We set the tone, we give them the relationship skills, information, and they're watching us. So they're watching all of our relationships first. So the relationship that we have with the barista at the coffee shop, with our partner, our love partner or spouse, their parent, with our other family members, and with our friends at large. So how we act in those relationships when our kids are watching will be important and will contribute to what behaviors and feelings and actions they do in their own relationships. So we have a responsibility, and the stakes are high, Tyler, because happy, healthy relationships, as I said, impact and contribute the number one influence on our children's health and well-being. So it's important to start now. It's never too early. So even if your child is in elementary school or middle school, start watching, start observing, start talking to them, and start implementing and modeling healthy behaviors in your own relationships.
We're joined by Dr. Terry Orbick, distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University and otherwise known as the Love Doctor. In relationships, such a key factor to the health and the longevity of a relationship is quality levels of trust between all individuals involved and everybody that is involved on the outskirts of that relationship as well and associated with that relationship. How do you suggest that parents talk to their kids about trust, developing that trust, trusting in their romantic partner, and developing that over time?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you said, Tyler, trust is the number one important ingredient in any healthy relationship. If you don't have trust, you can't have love and commitment, and you can't even feel comfortable sharing your thoughts and feelings with another person. Trust is when you feel like this person has your best interests at heart and you want to share your deepest, darkest secrets, or you just want to share information with that person. So as a parent, you want to start discussions about trust. You know, at an early age, you can just talk to your child about, why would you want to share a secret with a friend? What would have to be there in a relationship for you to feel comfortable to share something? And then when they get older, talk about commitment, talk about how you can be a trusting partner or friend or family member and what that involves and what you can say and the kinds of questions that you can ask. And then third, model that as a parent with your child. So make sure that you're allowing them to share, make sure that you're not judging or giving your values to them about something that they're disclosing to you that's a secret that is at the core of who they are and their experiences. And then again, talk to them about how special they are and how unique they are. What we find research shows is that if you can affirm your child, share a special, unique strength that they have, and talk to them about the positive qualities that they have, they're going to feel better about themselves. And then they're much more likely to trust you as the parent and trust others in their relationships.
We're joined by Dr. Terry Orbick, distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University, otherwise known as the Love Doctor, and the author of Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. As you explore these relationships between parents and their kids who are experiencing, maybe for the first time in their lives, a romantic relationship or have had maybe some issues with their romantic relationships in the past, what are some of the more common challenges that you see parents are experiencing in relation to their kids' relationships? And what's your advice for parents to navigate those situations in a way that is healthy for their relationship with their kid, but also isn't that a detriment to their kids' relationship?
Well, there are lots of love challenges, I think, that parents experience with their young adult children. One, for example, is when, as a parent, you don't feel that your child picked the right love partner for them. What we know is that conversation, that discussion that you have with your child is so important, because if you judge, if you tell them what to do, if you say you shouldn't be with this love partner, then you distance them from you. And actually, then your child draws closer and is more likely to be attracted and want that love partner. So the stakes are high, as I've said. So come to your child and again, ask them questions like, what do you think are the healthy relationship skills and factors in a happy, healthy relationship? And then what do you think this partner is giving you? What are the strengths? What are the good qualities of this current love partner? Let them discover that perhaps this love partner isn't giving them what they need and want in a relationship, and continue the discussions. It's going to be not one discussion, but many conversations over time. Another example of a love challenge is when your child comes home with a love partner. Where do the two people sleep? And do they sleep in the same room, or do they sleep in separate rooms when they're underneath your roof and your values? And again, have a discussion with your child ahead of time. Talk to them about what they're expecting, what your values are. And if your values are different, or if your opinions are different, talk about compromise. Talk about doing it one way and then doing it perhaps another way over time? Or are there some compromise or alternatives that you can have when your children come home and stay with their love partner in your home? The book shares lots of examples where parents can approach these love challenges in positive, simple, science-based ways.
We're joined by Dr. Terry Orbick, Distinguished Professor of Sociology at Oakland University, joining us on the Michigan Megacast, also the author of Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships. Some of the more controversial, or not controversial, some of the more difficult challenges, I think, for parents today to be dealing with that's different from past generations is their child's identity, particularly their sexual preferences, their gender identity, and that's come under fire a lot recently, particularly in the state of Florida with the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. What are your thoughts on that bill? And then what are your thoughts on conversations that parents are going to be having with their children, especially in today's day and age, about their gender identity and about their sexuality that are different from past generations, and how parents should navigate that?
Well, I think it's important, Tyler, to have discussions where you talk about these topics, gender identity, sexual orientation, with your children. And what you want to decide is, what is the age of my child and what is the maturity and emotional level of my child? And based on that, you want to implement these topics into discussions. And one of the best ways of doing that is using the media as a guide. Have you and your child sit down and watch a movie where perhaps someone in the television show or movie is having a challenge about gender identity, or has a different sexual orientation, or is talking about sexual orientation with their parent, and use that as a basis. Ask your child, well, what do you think the parent should have said? Or what do you think the child should have done? Or how should the child have approached the parent? So after you've had these discussions using the media, using the mass media that your child is watching, and making sure that you're having an appropriate age-related, maturity-related discussion, then bring it home and bring it to them and ask them questions about them, their friends, and what's happening at school and in their peer groups. So remember that talking about it, accepting your child, is so very important for their health and well-being, as well as their lifelong relationships in the future.
Dr. Orbick, before we let you go, where can viewers find your books, such as Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships, A Guide for Parents, and find more information, maybe even get in contact with you if they would like some advice on their love relationships?
Well, I have 3 self-help books, Tyler, that are all based on science. One for long-term relationships and how to improve those relationships. One for finding love. And then, as you said, Secrets to Surviving Your Love Relationships. They're all available on Amazon. People can get a hold of me at my website, which is drterrythelovedoctor.com. That's all one word, DRTERRI. thelovedoctor.com, as well as you said, I'm a distinguished professor at Oakland University, oakland.edu.
Dr. Orbick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water, and so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, Get help.
Our next guest is the Vice President of Communications and External Relations at Gift of Life Michigan, one of 295 Share Detroit-supported charities and counting, as well as nonprofits. Patrick Wells O'Brien joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Patrick, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, give us a little bit of an introduction to the background and the history of Gift of Life of Michigan. Who do you serve and what services do you provide?
Well, thank you. Gift of Life Michigan is our state's federally designated organ and tissue procurement organization. So what that basically means is that from the moment of a donor being able to have the potential to be an organ donor to when the transplant center performs that transplant, Gift of Life Michigan is responsible for that entire recovery process. We also are responsible for maintaining the Michigan Organ Donor Registry, and we do that in partnership with the Michigan Secretary of State. So when you go in and you renew your driver's license, they ask you, would you like to have your name added to the Michigan Organ Donor Registry? And we hope everybody in Michigan says yes, because when you do, that really provides the life-saving opportunity to combat this list of 2,500 Michiganders waiting right now for a life-saving organ.
Well, people think about it too. They think about there's so many people in Michigan. They know that the organ donor registry can be done through the Secretary of State's office when you're renewing your license or when you're updating your license or anytime, really. You can join the Michigan Organ Donor Registry. And so they may think, well, there's tons of people in Michigan. There's probably plenty of organ donors that are in the registry. But what exactly is the need in Michigan for organ donations at any given time?
Well, and that is it. The need is great. And those 2,500 Michiganders are a part of a list of more than 100,000 people across the United States who are right now waiting for that life-saving organ. One organ donor has the potential to save up to 8 lives: heart, lungs, kidneys, 2 lungs, intestine, liver, pancreas. Plus, one donor can improve the life of up to 75 others: eye and cornea, tendons, skin for burn victims. And people think that organ donation is something I'm too old, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. And we have recovered life-saving gifts from people in their 90s. So to that person on the waiting list, that person who's waiting for something, our own citizens in our own state, our own friends and neighbors, I'm sure all of your listeners know of someone who has at one point or another either benefited from an organ or a tissue transplant. And there is no, at this point in our, in our technology, there is no other way for people to survive. Unless someone is generous enough to just simply say yes. When we have donor families talk about how meaningful it is for their love, the tragedy of death, and this provides this silver lining to say, my loved one can provide the legacy of life for someone. Oh, I can't take my organs with me, and why not help someone else?
So I'm on the Organ Donor Registry here in the state of Michigan, and there are many others who also join me in the Michigan Organ Donor Registry who have done so through the Secretary of State when they've renewed their license or through another process in which they're able to join the Organ Donor Registry. But many don't know exactly what the process is of your organs actually being donated, because in some cases there is tragedy that strikes and somebody dies, and then their organs are donated maybe right there at the hospital. They're extracted and then put into the registry. But there are other cases as well where people die of natural causes, and then their organs are then gone into the registry. So how is that process then enacted? Someone's on the registry. What happens on the medical side of things when that person does pass away and their organs then go into the registry to be used to save those lives?
Sure. So when you're on the registry, what you're doing is you're allowing your wishes to be an organ donor. You're allowing it to be known, and that telling your family and friends is also a great way to make sure your wishes are known. And it's very rare for a death to result in the opportunity for organ donation, because you have to be in a very specific set of circumstances for the recovery to occur. And most of the time, that means brain death. And 1-2% of deaths qualify. You have to be on a ventilator and you have to be declared brain dead in order for you're dead, but your vitals are still, organs are still being sustained in order for donation to be possible. There is also a way with a cardiac death, and if our team is right there, then it's possible for the recovery of organs in those situations. With tissue, we have the potential for many more donors than in those circumstances. There's a longer period of time that we have the opportunity to recover those life-saving gifts.
We're joined by Patrick Wells O'Brien, the Vice President of Communications and External Relations at Gift of Life of Michigan, one of 295 Share Detroit supported charities and nonprofits. Here on the Michigan Megacast. More information by visiting sharedetroit.org and searching Gift of Life Michigan to learn how you can support the organization and how you can get more information on the organ donor registry here in the state of Michigan. So what are some other things that people should know about the process of being on the registry and the process of organ donation? Because while it's an individual choice, ultimately that's going to be something that's going to be coordinated with the Michigan Organ Donor Registry as well as their family or their loved ones, whoever is there with them at the time of their death.
Yeah, so if you are on the registry, then we work with your family. We would work with the families to say we're going to go about the process of honoring that the family's wish. And we also work with donor families after a gift occurs to help them understand what happened with their loved ones' gifts. Is there a heart recipient whose life was saved? Were their lungs or liver? And in some instances, those family members are interested in learning and meeting the recipient. And we have very moving videos on our YouTube channel and on our website. And if you follow us on social media, these heartwarming stories. We just had a story of Lauren, who was a heart recipient, and she just met her donor mom this past couple of months ago, and we were able to record that meeting. And it was so touching to see the mom put the stethoscope up to Lauren's chest to hear her daughter's heartbeat again, and to know that her daughter saved another person's life because of her wish to be an organ donor. And she said yes, and put her name on the registry. And every single Michigander can do that. But only 58% of Michigan adults have done what you've done, Tyler, done what I've done, and said yes to being on the registry. And other states do better. Other states are in 70% of their population, even greater, who are on the registry. And that's been our biggest challenge. If we're going to save lives and more lives in Michigan, we need more people to just simply say yes. It doesn't mean that anything is going to happen right now. Some people have misconceptions about what that means, that the medical emergency staff isn't going to work as hard to save me, or this is very different than being a living kidney donor. This happens in the rare instances of very particular circumstances of an unavoidable death. And in that circumstance, I would want to know that I could be saving someone else's life. And that's the message we want to get out there. All major religious denominations support organ and tissue donation and see it as the charitable thing to do to support your fellow human in having the opportunity to have life through something that we can each do and add our name to that registry.
More information on their website, giftoflifemichigan.org. That's giftoflifemichigan.org, or by visiting shareofdetroit.org as well. We're joined by Patrick Wells O'Brien, the Vice President of Communications and External Relations with Gift of Life Michigan, with us on the Michigan Megacast. So can you talk about the Let's Talk initiative? What is that initiative? What is the goal of that out in the community to raise awareness through Gift of Life Michigan?
That's right. So we have an outreach to multicultural community, to the public at large, to educate people about organ and tissue donation and talk about people's questions, talk with people who have benefited from organ and tissue donation and transplantation. And so we have a series called Let's Talk. It's live streamed on Facebook, and then it's available on our YouTube channel to watch later, or on our website. And some of the different programs have included the organ donation process, or talking with recipients. We've talked about how you can get more involved in Gift of Life Michigan. It's a designated great place to work, and it's been a wonderful thing to get to know the people who do this every day, and some of the interesting stories that they have about what they've gone through in order to save someone else's life. So there's stories like that on there. And also we talk with religious leaders, and we debunk myths, and we also talk about our legislative advocacy.
So we have about a minute or two left with you before we'll say goodbye, Patrick. Can you tell us just a little bit about the Gift of Life's legislative advocacy, and what are some things that you are advocating, your organization's advocating for in the legislative front at this time?
So we just had a successful piece of legislation come through with Representative Felicia Brayback, sponsored a bipartisan bill, and it passed both houses of the Michigan legislature. That doesn't happen very often, and was signed into law by the governor to enable HIV-positive organ donors to give to HIV-positive recipients. And what that allows is, prior to this, it was not allowable in the state of Michigan for that to happen. And it's part of a federal effort and a federal act, and for Michigan law to become compliant with that, we were able to get that passed. Prior to this, we would recover HIV-positive organs, and we would have to send those organs out of the state of Michigan. And so everybody saw that this was a very necessary thing. Even though the numbers are small for this, it's very meaningful, especially if you're a person on the waiting list. And people talk about the waiting list, and it's a waiting list, but there are so many factors that go into having you become matched for an organ donor, that if someone who is HIV positive is able to receive some gift from someone who is HIV positive, it makes room for other people on the list who are waiting. But none of this happens if people don't sign up and register.
Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about our program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. There we have additional links that take you to the web pages of each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and other media outlets that you can keep up to date on the Megacast, both the Oakland County and the Michigan Megacast Hour, and find all of our full episodes and each individual program on demand as well. Joining us now on the program is Keith Aldridge. He's the owner of Canterbury Village, located in Lake Orion and in the Orion Township area as well. Keith, thank you for being with us on the program once again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So you have an exciting event coming up this weekend on Saturday, the 16th. Noon to 5 p.m. It is, unfortunately, at this moment in time, a sold-out event. It's your annual egg drop and Easter fun event over there at Canterbury Village. Can you tell us about the event and what makes this really a unique, family-oriented event to celebrate the Easter season?
Well, we rent a helicopter and we do a bunch of drops throughout the day. And I tell you what, there's something about a helicopter and dropping eggs that really makes people excited, especially the little guys. And it's pretty cool to see. So last weekend we had Saturday and Sunday completely sold out. And then as you mentioned, this Saturday's already sold out. So lots of great family entertainment at Canterbury Village. And our Easter extravaganza weekend is really becoming one of our staple events for us here.
We're joined by Keith Aldridge on the Michigan Megacast, joining us on the program, their event this weekend. Saturday, April 16th, is one of many fun Easter events in the local area in Oakland County and over there. Really a unique event. So let's talk a little bit about the background of the event. Of course, it's sold out for this year's event. It sold out very quickly. Just a couple days ago, tickets were still available. Now they are sold out for the entirety of this event. All different heats of the event from noon to 5 p.m. on Saturday, April 16th. But this is something that's been a tradition over there at Canterbury Village for a while now. When did this idea sort of manifest and become a reality and then a tradition over at Canterbury Village?
We started in 2018. That's kind of when the events started slowly at Canterbury Village. And every year it's grown. Obviously, one year we had to miss because of the pandemic. And then last year, it was absolutely crazy in 2021. We had about 20,000 people show up. So we actually had to charge this year, which we've never charged before, but to control the crowds. As I said, people have just gotten used to the good family events at Canterbury. And unfortunately, because of our parking situation and the two-lane road on Joslin, which is our main road outside of our campus, we had to charge and to control the crowds, and it's worked out pretty well. As I said, we've added. We did 3 days this year. I assume next year will be a four-day event. I think we're going to do Good Friday as well because a lot of kids are off school on Good Friday. So next year we plan on having our extravaganza weekend, 2 weekends with a total of 4 days.
Yeah, so that will definitely make it much more wide open for people in the community that clearly want to go to this event. It sold out very quickly. The event this weekend is on Saturday, April 16th at Canterbury Village, noon to 5 p.m. For those that already have tickets. And there's a number of different other events going on during this season over at Canterbury Village, especially as we head into the warmer seasons, more people looking to get outside and have some fun out in their community whether they're in Oakland County or in surrounding areas or traveling into the Oakland County area and would like to have a fun time on the weekend or even during the week. What are some of the other upcoming fun events over at Canterbury Village in the coming weeks and months that people may be interested in attending, and how can they find out more information?
Well, our event schedule is online, obviously, at CanterburyVillage.com, but we have some big events coming up, as you mentioned. We have Superhero Saturday coming up at the end of this month on April 30th. We are expecting it to sell out, and we will hopefully be adding Superhero Sunday, May 1st. We have then we have our dinosaurs coming back to Canterbury Village. They've been on a 10-month tour around the country. Obviously, Canterbury was our kickoff for the Dinosaur tour that we currently have going on nationally, and that's at the end of May, so that's 2 weekends in a row. Then we go into our food festival weekends. We have Rib Fest, Taco Fest, our food truck rally, which are very popular. Then our medieval festival, which was kicked off in 2018, I'm sorry. And it's getting very, very popular. And this year we actually are running 2 weekends continuously, so a total of 4 days for our medieval festival. That will probably expand over the next couple of years into a whole month-long thing like they do up in Holly. Our response and our feedback from that event has been absolutely fantastic to go along with our English architecture here at Canterbury, which is, it just kind of goes hand in hand. It's really neat. Then we got Harry Potter, and then we go into kind of our fall donut fest with Yates. Obviously, we have the Yates Cider Mill on our campus. And then we go into Halloween, which is huge for us here at Canterbury with our Halloween stroll, and then our holiday stroll, which is obviously another big one, and kind of wrap up the season. But we have a ton of programming this year. Almost every weekend we have something going on, and you can obviously check it out at CanterburyVillage.com or Facebook, Instagram. We're all over social media.
The website again, CanterburyVillage.com, CanterburyVillage.com to learn more information and get in contact with the folks over at Canterbury Village, located in Orion Township down in Oakland County here in the state of Michigan. We're joined by Keith Aldridge, owner of Canterbury Village, with us today on the Michigan Megacast. And you mentioned one of those events that is coming up the next few weeks and the next month is your Dino and Dragon Stroll. That's going to be happening over the course of a couple sets of 3 days. May 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. That's a period of 4 days. And then May 27th, 28th, and 29th. We here at My Michigan TV, we're at the Comic-Con over in Warren just a couple months ago, and saw one of your dinosaurs over there. And that's going to be participating in this event. So tell us again just the background of the Dino Stroll and the Dragon Stroll over there at Canterbury Village. How did that event come to play? And then not only just have an event that's themed to dinosaurs and dragons, which again goes along with the decor over there at Canterbury Village, but to then have this be a full event with numerous, very large in some cases, models and costumes of these dinosaurs as well.
Yep. Well, in 2020, when we wrapped up the holiday season, we were kind of sitting around thinking about ideas to expand Canterbury and expand our family programming. And obviously they had some success with the dinosaur tour that came to Pine Knob, which was DT at the time, and the drive-through experience. And we got online, started looking around and said, hey, that would be I bet you people would really like that for Canterbury. It's a great family setting, fits into our programming. And obviously that started last year. We brought everything in. The tickets went absolutely crazy. And so our first 2 weekends in the Dino and Dragon Stroll business was absolutely fantastic. And then we said, wow, maybe we can take this on the road. So since June 1st of last year, we've been on the road every weekend around the country, and we have 2 tours going on right now. So simultaneously, so we're always in 2 cities throughout the United States, and it's been quite the whirlwind the last 10 months with our company growth and what we're doing for our programming around the country.
We're joined by Keith Aldridge. He's the owner of Canterbury Village in Orion Township, located in Oakland County here in the state of Michigan. Joining us today on the Michigan Megacast, and then coming up Saturday, June 4th, and Sunday, June 5th, is the Michigan Megacast. Oh, wait. No, it's the Michigan Mega Food Truck Rally over there at Canterbury Village. Can you tell us about that event and just what sort of extensive variety of food trucks will be available to people that attend?
Yeah, well, our food truck rallies are always big at Canterbury. We'll have a wide variety of, taco, barbecue, chicken, seafood, all kinds of different food trucks out, and it's a great setting. And I'm not trying to mock or knock anybody else's food truck rallies, but at some of them, you're just in a hot asphalt parking lot, kind of stagnant. Obviously, when you come to Canterbury Village, we have 5 acres of an open park, and then all the decor of the buildings and the surroundings, the shopping. So it's more of an experience. And those have gotten very, very popular over the last couple of years with us. And we expect this year our food truck rally will sell out. And I think tickets just went out for sale the last couple of days, and that will sell out. And it's always a huge event, and it's a good family event as well.
We're speaking with Keith Aldridge, the owner of Canterbury Village, located in Orion Township, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Some of their upcoming events include this weekend's the sold-out events. It's their Canterbury Egg Extravaganza, the Egg Drop, and the Easter Fun event. That event is sold out for those of you that are interested, but they'll be doing more along those lines next year, as Keith has said earlier on. They got a Spring Fever Market on Saturday and Sunday, April 23rd and 24th, as well as on April 30th and May 1st. That'll be coming up on those days. The Superhero Saturday, April 30th. The Dino and Dragon Stroll, May 19th through 22nd, and May 27th through 29th, and as well as Dinos and Dragons After Dark on May 21st. And then, as we just spoke about, the Michigan Mega Food Truck Rally is Saturday and Sunday, June 4th and June 5th. More information on their website, CanterburyVillage.com. That is CanterburyVillage.com for more information on this business located in Orion Township. We're joined by owner Keith Aldridge on the Michigan Megacast. Keith, just another minute or so before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that people should be keeping an eye out for from Canterbury Village, or other exciting things that are upcoming over there at your business?
Well, we do a lot of charity work at Canterbury Village with Jay's Juniors, with the Bottomless Toy Chest, and obviously last year we opened up our village food pantry on our campus. So anytime customers come out to Canterbury, please bring a couple canned goods or some Bach dry goods, and help feed some people in our local community. And it's been very, very positive. So we appreciate all the support from the local community. But anytime you come out to Canterbury, please bring some food from your cupboards and help feed some local people that might be, down on their luck or having a hard time. So we appreciate it.
Keith, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You as well. Been joined by Keith Aldridge, the owner of Canterbury Village, with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website by visiting CanterburyVillage.com. Again, that website for Canterbury Village is CanterburyVillage.com. We're going to take one final break here on the Michigan Megacast, and on the other side, as I just sent a couple of things up over here, one final break, and on the other side, we'll wrap things up, and then we will come back. We'll come back and we'll wrap things up for today's edition of the Michigan Megacast. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening on our family of TV, radio, and other media outlets.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. I want to thank everybody that joined us on today's edition of the program. Shakeena Melbourne, principal attorney at Upton Law Firm. Michael Zappo from the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Oakland County. Dr. Terry Orbick, the Love Doctor. Patrick Wells O'Brien from Gift of Life, Michigan. And, of course, Keith Aldridge, the owner of Canterbury Village, located in Orion Township in Oakland County. All those interviews on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. We highly encourage you as well to head on over to our coronavirus page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, so you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division as this pandemic continues forward and information continues to change as well. And find our top articles making headlines each day. Big thank you to our crew that makes this show possible as well. I'm technical director as well today. We also have the King of Television, Larry Nyland, our booking producer, our Zoom producer, Jared Clark, out of the office of My Michigan TV, and of course, Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control, helping us on and off the air. On My Michigan TV, Steve Later Live is next, followed by Larry and Maddie Live. We'll return tomorrow at 10 a.m.